about coaching though. I want to touch about coaching. We haven't touched on coaching in a little while on this pod.
Yes.
About 2 months.
I'm glad you're brave enough to talk about coaching after you've been disproven so handily about Brian Daboll.
We're still doing that. We're still doing that.
Absolutely, Chief.
You know what? And this is the shit why I can't stand Brian Daboll this year. Is that I vouched for you last year. I know I'm correct on what happened last year, and then all you do this year is let me down in a big way. And I gotta have clowns like you and Matthew Mulizen and Big Jim James Neese and all these idiots on X on Twitter or the hell they call it now.
Okay,
so sick of you guys, man. Always picking on me.
An idiot. I was right, but I'm a clown and an idiot. Cool. You do. By the way, this clown / idiot had.
Do I seem mad?
Your guy had your guy Saquon Barkley as the student of the game MVP. But we don't want to talk about that. This clown or idiot actually said everything right, including supporting your alleged team by giving Saquon his proper credit.
As my thing falls down, the flag is falling apart now. As my son here,
there to hit a bump.
Thanks, buddy.
Fell.
I want it up there.
Oh gosh.
No, too late. Leave it alone. It's okay. Leave it alone.
Shouts to Logan Christian.
Logan Christian, come here, destroy my studio.
Was he the perp you were chasing?
Yeah.
This is how the vote.
He's on timeout.
Not only
as he wears his Giants shirt too.
Not only does he take abuse from
your shirt.
Uh-oh.
Don't take it off.
Go
on the camera, dude.
Wow. That's a very tolerant parent as a Cowboy fan that you let him wear a Giants shirt.
You're the worst, dude. You like the Giants too? Yeah. There we go. Cool. There you go. He's born here. He's born here, and plus, he's
stop backpedaling. You lose. Good day, sir.
And he's a mama's boy too. To be fair, he's a mama's boy too. So come on now. Anyway,
I can't hear you over the sound of the Gene Wilder victory.
I hate you right now. How mad I am about the Daboll thing for real though. Well, speaking of coaching though, I have 10 guys. I want to rank. Panic meter. We did this like I think week 3, week 4.
Oh, panic meter. Right.
We're back here now, going to week 12 now. I think it's time
and rightly so. Right.
This is potentially going to be one of the possibly biggest Black Mondays / offseason. Possibly. I'm not saying. We shall see.
I feel like we say that every year, and yet regularly we get the regular number of 6 or so.
And that's very yeah.
We already have one out the door too. Let's not forget that.
Yes, he deserved it.
Yes.
Josh McDaniels.
The S is for sucks. Good job.
Right.
Way to set me up. Well done, EJ Christian.
Let's go with the first guy that allegedly, according to Jay Glazer, has the hottest seat probably in the whole of the land, and that's Frank Reich in Carolina. What would you put at 1 to 10? Panic meter.
It's probably 8, but I don't think his seat should be the hottest.
Mm-hmm. Why?
Because he's not Brandon Staley. More on that later. No, honestly, I don't think Bryce Young is to blame. I think this team needs more time to build.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is Frank Wright's opening?
Very first year in Carolina. It can't be.
I'm going to drop it to 7 because on the strength of the fact it's his first year. I'll throw that modifier.
What it should be is a 2 or 3. What it is based on the optics and a owner that is not very patient and Tepper, it's 8.5 for me.
I mean, he kept Rivera around forever, but that's a whole other conversation.
Was he there at Rivera? Or did you fire Rivera?
He may have fired Rivera, but I've told you many times on this.
I thought he took over. I thought he took over for Jerry Richardson. After Rivera was gone, I thought Richardson. It doesn't matter.
I'm talking about ownership. I'm talking about
right. That's what I'm saying.
Maybe I don't have the timeline right.
Right.
That could be a factor too.
But it should be a 2 or 3. I always say coaches get these 2-3 years before they get the axe. But
I'm willing to raise it up to a 5 if you think a lot of his stuff is conduct unbecoming. But you don't bring in an undersized quarterback, and then like the G. If anybody should swing, it's the GM for that trade and all of that. But that's I mean, especially after what I heard, the punishment should be to the 49ers office for the whole Trey Lance situation. But nobody wants to talk about that.
No one doesn't know that apparently. So all right, next guy here on the list. Speaking of Ron Rivera, there you go. Ron Rivera in Washington.
An absolute 9. Not only does the on-the-field product look awful, Sam Howell, ACC quarterbacks, am I right? But there's the political and optics revitalization with the new ownership that I think is a factor too. And I believe Rivera's contract goes up. I don't think he's getting fired, but he's sure not getting brought back, right? Yeah. So Bieniemy's in prime position to take over. I think that's something in a world. One of two things are true. I'll go with the conventional smart wisdom. If you're really trying to flex that you have the team that used to be alleged to have been named after a slur, and I know there's some controversy there whether people like it or not. I mean, those are the facts of the case. There's controversy, right? If you want to put being named as a slur in the rear view, what better way to do it than to bring in a guy like Eric Bieniemy, who has been looking for a head coaching job as a minority candidate to be brought in and hired as a head coach for the first time under a minority owner a minority owner, if you will, in Magic Johnson, right?
Yeah.
But here's the conspiracy theory. Mm-hmm. Let's say they opt to, allegedly there are polls out there, and you know how reliable polls can or can't be. Allegedly,
I do love them though.
Well, enough of your silly politics and my actual data wisdom knowing how they're getting manipulated. And that's not an attack on you. That's more me calling out media outlets.
Of course, yeah, of course, yeah.
But polls allege that the return of the name Redskins is the favorite amongst the fans. If you're going to try to do that, what better way to balance it out than to give Eric Bieniemy his first job, having minority ownership in your building?
I will say this though, and I'm not even like saying that they should go back to this, but this is how you sell that.
That's what I'm saying. This is exactly
not only with Bieniemy, but who is while he's a minority owner, who is the face of that ownership group right now?
Yeah, I mean it's Magic Johnson. That's
there
the
go.
Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah,
that's how you sell it.
We're saying the same precise thing. 100%.
That's how you sell it. That being said,
that's how you balance it. Sell it, whatever.
Right. Yes. That being said, Kyle, I'm going 10. I already said before the year started that he was going to be gone anyway because Eric Bieniemy is literally the assistant head coach of that team, and the optics were when he got hired that he would be the guy moving forward. And now that Daniel Snyder is gone, this is the one franchise I think in the NFL that is literally ripe for a complete overhaul because of the new ownership group, because of everything else. To get rid of the stench of Daniel Snyder,
Montez Sweat, Bryce Young, both out the door.
Yes,
or not Bryce Young, Chase Young.
Chase Young, right, who went to your team, of course.
Still sending my fellow red tail commander friends Christmas cards this year for that ish, by the way.
No, but seriously, it's a 10 for me because there's no surprises outside of a playoff berth. I never saw him holding a job. He can go 8-9 this year, or even close to 9-8, and he's still gone because unless you're in the playoffs or beyond, there's a thirst for fresh, and Rivera is no longer
fresh. That sounds like a Subway logo. I like it.
Eat fresh. All right, you know what? I'll throw his name in for funsies here, but Brian Daboll, the Giants.
6 at least. Like,
ooh, really?
You gotta have the conversation. You listen, in that large media market, there's a lack of patience, buddy.
Yeah. Okay. No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong about it at all. I'll go 3 but I will say I can see rising to 6 or 7 if they fall apart the rest of the year. Now they did win a game.
That doesn't count.
I hate this team so much, dude.
That doesn't count.
I told you.
Sam Howell doesn't count.
Again, I told you and everybody else last week that I am in for a tank. Okay, I know players don't come to work to tank, but I'm in for the tank, and they can't do that properly. But if the Giants can somehow, some way, find a way to look respectable at the end of the year, he's gonna be fine. Because last year he did enough in his first year to alleviate any pressure. Now the third year, I will say this much though, regardless of what he's back or not this next year, which I think he will be, he'll be at the very least warm.
So, are you illing for Williams? Are you trying to the big fix for Penix? Or let's see, what's another one? Lose all day for Drake May.
I want Caleb, dude. I don't know how you feel about
Dylan for Williams is the selection.
I still like Caleb, man. I mean, I know how you feel about the, maybe we'll do a podcast next week about the quarterbacks and how we feel about the draft, whatever going forward. But I'm still a Caleb Williams guy. I feel like his upside is higher than anybody else's there of those quarterbacks. His upside.
Yeah, I mean the natural talent,
Yeah. There's other optics there that a little worrisome, but like I said, we'll worry about it later. All right, how about this guy, Matt Eberflus in Chicago?
There's your 10, buddy. There's your 10. In a world where you already see people talking about reboot, yeah, this kid is a fat kid in dodgeball. He is out. I have a little bit of pause for Ron Rivera. And I say that mostly because it's not a firing, By the way, this is me talking about the likelihood versus what I actually feel. I feel Rivera should be a 10, for example. I'm going to give it a 9 just because physics, right? For me, Eberflus, not only do I feel it's a 10, it looks like a 10 for me that this dude's done.
Yeah. And I think this is the other franchise that feels like is ripe for another rebuild, which again, we've been doing this for what? Every 3 years do they do?
This is what happens when you miss at quarterback. It's time.
Yeah. I'm going 9. Probably go higher than that, but no, 9. Because I'm wondering if this. The reason I'm going 9 for one reason. This ownership group is cheap enough to say, you know what, we're paying this guy for 3-4 years. Let's give him another year just because they're pretty cheap. The McCaskill's are pretty freaking cheap. So that's that. This is bad as the Spanos family. All right. How about this guy? Your boy, Matt LaFleur in Green Bay.
7. I think he's going to get a little bit of slack for relative success. I know the popular thing is you were famous because of Aaron Charlotte Rodgers. Also, the way that they were gutted with the departure of Rodgers with certain weapons and things like that, and Devontae Adams went away, and all of it. I feel like he's going to get 1 year of goodwill before he gets kicked down the stairs. It's not like they're going to have a high enough draft pick to really do anything in the draft, but it's not like the Packers do a lot in the draft anyway. Yeah. So yeah, I think he has 1 more year to do something and take back the division from the surging Lions, who next year, if our predictions hold true, will have a much harder schedule as a first place team.
Well, everything said there's why I went with 4, because I think he will get the 1 year reprieve post Aaron Rodgers. There was also no one knew what to expect this year Green Bay either. If they started 4-6, no one's surprised. If they started 6-4, no one's surprised. You know what I'm saying? So it's one of those things like, okay, how it looks on paper, how it looks on the field.
Good, right? Your number is good as far as chances of him getting fired next year. The way I call it, the reason why I call it like a 6 or 7 is it's going to be hot heading into the season.
That I agree with.
Yeah, and it's the carriage of that heat that I want to make sure. But by the way, if on Black Monday you saw the headline that he got fired, you might be surprised, but you understand it too. So
absolutely. That's why it's that high. But he'll have one of the more seats in the league next year. Now, if this team craters the rest of the year, because they're technically still in the playoff race, even though there's a 2-game gap between 7 and 8
details
in the NFC, right? I do see maybe they speed up the process and say, you know what, let's start fresh, new quarterback, new coach, a whole 9. So 4. All right. How about this one guy? Mike Vrabel, Tennessee.
It's higher than it should be. And I actually talked to Ron Davenport about this after the game, in the press box for a little bit. He doesn't personally right now see him going, but his words were that this team is the most frustrated it's been in his tenure. I think this is another good 6 or 7.
Ooh, really?
I don't think he gets fired this year, but I'm not prepared to rule it out either, especially in a world where the press amongst the media on a national level in the lamestream is starting to basically make being a defensive-minded head coach a slur against your game, kind of like game manager was at one point, and to some extent still is for quarterbacks.
So you and I went completely opposite. I thought you would go lower than that, but I went -4 because I don't see it right now. I think they're gonna. I might
have thought the same, but like I said, I talked to Duran.
You have a source, a good friend of ours. Yeah. Here's my logic on that, though. I think they're going to allow him to rebuild.
I hope so,
because this is not a very good team. This is a team devoid of talent, and then the best talent to have in the team, the GM who they fired, rightfully so, I think last year. You don't get rid of AJ Brown for nothing.
and rightly so. Yes,
that wasn't a Vrabel problem. That was a GM problem.
Certainly.
Right. So I think because of the lack of talent, and the guys that are still talented in this team are either A, aging, or B, just not good enough anymore, aka Ryan Tannehill. I think is one of the things where, like, okay, let's start fresh. We like this coach. He's a really good coach. He's a good voice. Let's see if we can do something, a whole new program here on the same voice. If that doesn't work, then we have a conversation about him getting fired.
Well, yeah, and he had been asked about the possibility of him losing the locker room and all that, and Tehran had said he would make that inquiry during press outings this week. So if you check out whatever Tehran Davenport's doing for ESPN covering the Tennessee Titans, we'll see if there's an answer to what Vrabel's going to do, to make sure he doesn't lose the locker room. If he's able to keep the locker room throughout the end of this year, I think he'll give himself enough evidence to keep it, and it's a matter of pulling that off, because the real scuttlebutt there in that locker room in Tennessee is that he might be losing them. But that being said, I mean, Will Levis came out and looked like a star, and people, I think, got a little too hyped. I'm like, okay, that's cute. You threw a bunch of passes on, I believe it was the fraud cons, but yeah, at the end of the day, he's not ready yet to be a real, and again, quoting my good friend Tehran Davenport, he sees that he's still trying to do too much. He's trying to do extra things as a young quarterback would do. But right. I think his words were, if God made a quarterback, he would look like Will Levis.
And for record, I still think Vrabel is probably still the 10th best coach in football. I still think so.
10 best. Let's save that for another pod. I'm not prepared because that'll take a minute for us to hash that through.
Right. I mean, I certainly the product on the field this year has not really shown that, but that, again, the talent gap the team is bad.
No, listen, he and Marvin Lewis, I think, have a commonality. Former Bengals coach, like, people crapped on him. He never won a playoff game. He got eliminated in the first one. They made the playoffs.
Yeah,
because he was there, right alongside Mike.
Arguably the best stretch of football. Yeah, arguably the best stretch in history of the franchise. Arguably, in terms of consistent. No, in terms of, like, getting to the playoffs every year.
No. Perennial. No one has had an impact the way he did when he was there. Like, that's not arguable.
Yeah, there you go. All right, this is an interesting name here. How about Sean McDermott in Buffalo?
8.
Well,
somebody's got to go.
You're aggressive. You're really aggressive today in these scores. I like it.
Well, I mean, I've seen some of the reaction to some of the movement since you acted last time. Now, I'll grant the reason why it's not higher is because it's very interesting. You fire the OC. The world claims that you're using him as a scapegoat, and then you come out and you bomb the Jets, who are a great defense. As aggressive as you're calling an 8, what I'm trying to tell you is if they continue to look that prolific on offense to close the season, that's going to become like a 4 real fast.
Yep. Yeah. If you had asked me this after last week, Monday's loss to Denver, I would have said like 6 or 7. I went 5 because the Jets game.
That's a fine number.
Calmed it down. Now, this stretch going forward is going to say a lot. This stretch is going to say, put his number as high as an 8 or 9, or as low as a 2 or 3, depending on how they do well this last stretch of the year.
I get it's a week-to-week league, but I don't want to shake it off that quickly. Because here's the one thing we can guarantee is that he's not going to get fired before the end of the year. Okay.
Agreed. Oh yeah. No question. Yeah.
So at the end of the year, if they still look like how they look and they won the must-win game, as we called it, not to make you look silly, just because we both said must win as much as you overused.
Not only that, what time of year where that applies now?
Yeah. Well, it's even less the time of year and more with the Browns. It's accelerated because the difficulty of the schedule. We've been over that.
Right.
Yeah. So I think you can keep it low, and you have, but I think we have 3 points difference between the two of us because there's just been so much volatility with that team and the firing of Ken Dorsey, the OC, and all that. There's still way too much dust that has to settle, and that's why you and I can be both look completely smart having such different scores.
I'll say as much: he makes the playoffs, it lowers to a 3 or 4. He misses the playoffs, it goes up a little bit.
Yeah. And that's why I'm that high. Is it's trending a little too much like he's about to miss.
Right. And he misses the playoffs. If he's still the coach next year, he's the hottest seed in the league, probably next year.
Maybe.
Maybe top 2 or 3.
Yeah,
No question.
sure.
Okay. Staying in this division and their opponents this past weekend, Robert Saleh with the Jets.
5. This dude has excuses and goodwill built up behind him. He was handed a situation with a bad O-line, a quarterback that was an injury risk, or at least us wise people, like the Student of the Game on the Student of the Game podcast, bing, called out Aaron Rodgers was an injury risk. Now, I didn't say the 4th damn snap into the season, but I did say injury risk there with that bad O-line and Zach Wilson, who was a miss, and Tim Boyle. Who the hell brought this guy in? A UConn quarterback who's just awful. I mean, I think I've actually covered him at some point with the Black and Gold Internet back when they were still in the American. Yeah, he's trash. But still, a 3rd string quarterback there, and just without any of those options offensively. By the way, the part of the ball where Robert Saleh is good is among the top in the league.
Defense.
Bingo. So
I went 3 for that reason you said earlier, though, about the goodwill. I do think the 5 makes sense for you because of the fact that the longer you kept Zach Wilson on the field, that number went up because they should have pulled Zach Wilson like literally 4 weeks ago, if not even earlier.
For who?
It wasn't like Zach Wilson all of a sudden became bad last couple of weeks. We knew.
But I'm telling you, who else is in the cupboard? I brought up Tim Boyle.
Well, they could have brought in a Carson Wentz. They could have brought in some other guy.
Okay, so your answer was a free agent. That's the thing. I understand that Josh Dobbs, for example, was on the table, and Carson Wentz is a big no. I would
right, but the thing was, the season was early enough. I mean, literally early enough because it was week 1 when Aaron Rodgers got hurt that you could at least have that safeguard in there for you.
Maybe, but with free agents like that, it's about fit and scheme as well. And just with that, I can't necessarily fault a team for not bringing somebody in. That's a fan criticism rather than an analyst one. And I haven't done enough research as an analyst to tell you if any of these quarterback candidates are actual fits.
Right. Okay. How about this one? My favorite coach in the league, Brandon Staley.
He should be a 10, shouldn't he? At this point, you fired an offensive coordinator last year. Your offensive coordinator is actually improving, depending on what metric you're talking about, where he has more points this year than last.
Yeah.
Right. And another situation where your quarterback, Justin Herbert's going to get criticism for this game, even though he had the same problem that Patrick Mahomes II did. And because it wasn't on Monday night and he's not a reigning MVP, not reigning. Oh, yeah, reigning. He is the reigning MVP. And not a rating MVP, and a guy who it's cool to criticize as if he was Tony Romo, Andrew Luck, or Peyton Manning as a Colt. You're going to speak, Justin Herbert missed that. No, he didn't. Hit the dude in the damn hands.
Literally.
Meanwhile, your defense has been sucking more than a vacuum cleaner all year. And
the thing he's known for, too, is defense.
Exactly. You beat me there. And you're allegedly a defensive-minded coach.
So
will fire him.
So I have an actual meter sitting right here to the corner of here on this podcast. You can't really see it. It broke. The meter broke.
That's why they can't see it. It's broken.
It's at 46. It's 46. You shouldn't have fired a year ago. Should have fired 2 years ago.
Well, yeah, you were on that train last year.
So the meter's been broken. Brandon Staley. There you go. Meter's broken. So yeah, I mean, come on now. Anyway, and finally, we got to talk about it again. I know we brought it up before weeks ago. We got to talk about it again. It's hoodie time. Bill Belichick in New England.
If I said 8 or 9 last time, I'm going to go there now.
You might have been a 5 or 6 or 4.
If I didn't, I'm going there now. They just look that much worse. And with Belichick's personality being what that it is, by the way, how garbage a game is it that your Patriots are going to play the Giants next week?
Tank Bowl.
Those two playing each other, you know who really loses? America. Yeah.
And go figure, both teams has American colors too. Red, white, and blue.
How patriotic indeed.
Yeah.
Like I expect that game to look like the morale during an election.
It's funny. I was going to say that game, those two teams kind of exemplifies our discourse right now in this country.
No, I think we all agree that it's going to suck. Yeah.
No, but trash on trash on trash, man. I went a 6 here because the only reason I went that low was because I'm not sure if. I mean, discussed it last time we brought up his name 2 months ago about if Kraft says pull your GM card, he agrees to that, then fine.
He won't.
Good. But well, we don't think he will. But if he says agrees to it, then obviously he'll stop a coaching job next year.
Hey,
I would assume.
If he does, I'm happy to talk about how wrong my meter was and have it recalibrated. In the meantime, it ain't happening. I ain't buying.
I don't think it'll happen either. And because of that, if I was guaranteed to know that wasn't the case going to happen, I would have gone to 8 or 9 also myself. And plus, to be honest with you, like we've been, I'll give some Pats fans some credit that's come on the show through the years. Even before Brady left, they were worse about him. Some of the fans getting signed to Belichick anyway.
No,
my good friend,
they're just wrong. No. Okay. Let's be clear. Boston fans are among the most ignorant.
Not saying it was right. Not saying it was the right place to be, but they were getting tired of him because someone gave an example. Our own Boston Jack on this podcast back in 2018 when they lost the Eagles.
That adds to your credibility. I'm just saying.
No. Listen, this is what he said. He came on the show after the Super Bowl when they lost to the Eagles in 2017, whatever it was, 2018, and said that he was pissed off at the way he bungled the Malcolm Butler situation by not playing him that game. There are some Pats fans who had some issues with him.
You were in full Gilmore Girl mode. Nobody heard that.
You didn't hear what I said?
What situation? The situation.
You remember when Belichick benched Malcolm Butler at Super Bowl?
Stephon Gilmore situation.
No, Malcolm Butler.
Sorry, I got it mixed up.
Malcolm Butler when he got benched at Super Bowl.
Well,
for no explanation, nothing. Just bench him. And there's some Pats fans I know personally that has been bitter about Belichick ever since. And granted, this is after.
Think Malcolm Butler made the difference, please?
I'm not. No. My larger point is there's been some fans already I've spoken to that have already been disgruntled with him even before Brady left the building.
Okay.
And then you add these last couple of years on top of that. So it's not that the Belichick thing is all brand new.
To my point about the ignorant Boston fan, then that's why the ignorance of the Boston fan.
For the record, I disagree with them on that. Even back then, I'm just talking about the rhetoric of some fans in that base. That's all.
Oh, okay.
That's all I'm saying.
You finally got me there, I think. Okay, yeah, we're saying it in a different way. You're just stopping to bring up Boston Jack so I could talk more trash on one of your guests that aren't me. Cool.